All right, so it's February 1985, and my disability on my job led to a small settlement and an offer to retrain. Like they had to teach me a new skill because of my disability. And there was an offer for me to either stay in LA and go to school, or I can stay anywhere around the country. So I didn't really know what to do. It was all paid for. It was a wonderful opportunity, but I just didn't know what to do. And so I was confused and stuck, and here comes the man that would turn my life around. Yeah, so it was my brother, Mitch, and he's the man that I would always say was like a father to me growing up. So he invited me to come back and stay with him in Battle Creek, Michigan. And I would go to school there, stay with him. So he's just what I needed in my life at that time, a father figure to help me get my act together. So I sold my car, my great, fabulous 1976 Mercury Capri. I sold my car to a guy that lived around the corner from me. And I sold it for $3,000. And I moved in with my brother in Battle Creek, Michigan at the Brookside Apartments. And helped me get my act together, got me in the gym, working out my skinny, frail, malnourished body, taught me how to eat better. And I'm in the gym and I'm training and I'm working out, and it was just a wonderful thing. And I enjoyed staying with my brother. I stopped doing this. I still had a bad habit that I needed to eliminate. And I used to smoke marijuana, and I had to stop smoking weed. So on March 31st, 1985, at 12:25 a.m., I took my last puff of marijuana, and I said, never again will I smoke this trash again. It was making me look bad. My teeth were turning yellow. I had a hard look over my face. Even my brother had told me on that day, he said, Mike, you're starting to look hard in your face. He said, you're still handsome. You're a handsome kid, but you know, the effects of the marijuana are showing up on your face, and I'm very vain. And that got my attention, and the Lord just removed the taste of marijuana from my mouth and never looked back on it again, and never touched it since. So based on my settlement, I enrolled in Davenport Business College. And 1 year later, I graduated with a business degree, a business associate certificate, something like that. Basically, they just taught me how to type. I mean, I did accounting and English and all that stuff, but I say the takeaway was me learning how to type, which is something I would later use in my life to run my business. So I'm in college, doing great, graduated a year later. My skin looked better, my teeth and my eyes returned to their original white color, and I'm feeling strong. And I'll always appreciate and love my big brother, because he's the man that helped me turn my life around. All right, so in June of 1986, I moved back to California, and moved back home with my mom. And I'm like, man, I need to get some money coming in. You know, I don't want to, become broke in this kind of thing. So I said, I need some money quick. So what did I do? I went to the welfare office. Oh my Lord, why would I go to the welfare office? My parents taught me how to work ever since I was a little boy. What on earth am I doing sitting in front of the welfare office with 30 sheets of paper, and they asked me to fill out? And I thought about it, and I took them 30 sheets of paper. I mean, they had all kinds of goofy questions. What school did your mom go to when she was in high school? All of this craziness. And so I took them pieces of paper I'll never forget, and I just I just strewned them to the back of my car. And boldly, I said, I'm going to get a job, man. My parents taught me how to work. I'm going to get a job. I was breathing all heavy and stuff. And so I drove off from that place. And I did have a little money saved up from my emergency fund when I sold my car, the $3,000 that in fact, I sold to my neighbor, James Butts, and he fell asleep on the 405 freeway and had a terrible accident and totally totaled the car. I mean, he had even told me if his chest wasn't so big, because James used to work out, he had a nice physique. He said, if his chest wasn't so big, that steering wheel would have crushed his chest. And so working out saved his life. And it's part of what saved mine too. But my famed 1976 Mercury Capri, because to me it was still my car. I just let him have it for a minute with the cash exchange. But that was the end of that car. And I was a little heartbroken when he gave me the news. All right, so I did all sorts of jobs to make income. I worked at a warehouse packing boxes on top of each other. We had a terrible cyanide grape scare. Chilean grapes someone was running around with cyanide in a needle and going into grocery stores or in the factories. I mean, we didn't know where. And so I got hired out to look for needle holes in grapes, in Chilean grapes. Me and a group of other guys that got hired on to do the same thing. So we're in some refrigerated warehouse looking for needle holes in Chilean grapes. Boy, I'll never forget that. I drove limousines. I worked at GTE, the phone company, the equivalent of Verizon. I think Verizon bought out GTE. I worked there for 2 days and I quit. I could not do it. First day of training, they had one station where you sit down, what city please, what city please, what city please. I was an operator. And my boss said, okay, so you have one station there where you sit down, and when you get tired of sitting, you go over there. See those people over there? So you go over there and you stand up, and then you plug in and you stand and ask all day long, what city please, what city please, and connect the people to their calls. And I couldn't do it. I lasted for 1 day. No, I worked 2.5 days. I did it 2 days. And then on the third day, I worked till lunch, and then I never went back. But I did manage to keep my name tag, my badge. I kept working different places, Alpha Impressions, Idea, another warehousing company. And eventually I filled out an application for a wonderful little construction equipment rental company called A1 Coast Rentals. I was hired there and as a customer service rep, which led to a management position. And that was great. And I met, my boss actually was a great man, an older man, John Furlando. And he was a mentor of mine of sorts. John was a good man. He was good to me. Took me to my first Dodger baseball game. In fact, I'd never been to a baseball game at Dodger Stadium. And he used to look after me, and he would try to help me keep my life in order because I was always seeking a mentor. And John sure was helpful. God bless John Furlando, because he and his wife, Judy, they were good people. They were kind people. You don't meet a lot of people like them. And again, John used to look after me, and I always be eternally grateful to John Furlando, one of my mentors. I had some traffic tickets that I needed to clean up back in Cali from the Capri, and I had run up $900 in traffic tickets, in which I think 3 of them were warrants. $900. And all I had to do, I heard it on the radio that Compton Courthouse was running an amnesty program where all you have to do is show up and take responsibility for your actions, and you'll get a reduced rate. Now, I didn't know what the reduced rate was, on my warrants, on the tickets, but I decided to go to the courthouse, went up to, I think, the 9th floor, all the way at the top. I went in, hi, I'm Mike Pointer, here to take care of my responsibility. boom, because I had all of these crazy tickets. And I walked out of there, only paid $86. Unbelievable. From $900 to $86. All because I wanted to take care of my responsibilities. And I did. That was one of the first real big major steps, all on my own, right? To no one to really, watch over me and tell me, hey, you better go take care of them tickets. And I'm so glad I took that responsibility because, again, from 986, unbelievable. So I moved out of my mother's house and I moved in with my dear sister, Gwen. I moved in with her. She lived a different kind of lifestyle. She'd sleep in the day and she would be up all night. And I'm the opposite. I work in the day and I sleep at night, and it was her apartment. So that situation didn't work out so well. So I ended up moving from there within, I think it only lasted like 3 months. I just couldn't do it anymore because I wasn't sleeping, and I wanted to be effective at my management position at A1 Coast. So one of my coworkers on my job overheard me say, I got to move, I'm looking for a new place. Tony Rivas, he had heard me say that I need a place to stay. I'm looking. And he said, man, you could live with me. You could live in my place. And I'm like, wait, for real? He said, yeah. I said, well, where do you live? He said, next door. I said, what do you mean next door? Like, 10 minutes away? He said, no, literally one street over. So he lived on 229th Street in Torrance, like right next door to A1 Coast. And he let me live there for free. And I saved my money. I mean, that job was literally 78 footsteps I counted from A1 Coast. I didn't even need a car. I had one, but I didn't need a car. And I used to walk to work. I'd get there, I'd work overtime. I asked my boss, I said, if you have any overtime for me, please let me have it. Because my plan was to save as much money as possible. I wanted to save $5,000. And then I was gonna quit my job and I was gonna move to Hollywood and do my thing, right? So that was my goal. So I'm living there, putting in all kinds of overtime, working sometimes 50, 60 hours a week, and just saving money, staying out of the streets, no night clubbing, no running with the wrong crowd and the whole thing. And I'm saving my money. And while I was working like crazy, I said, let me go on and start this career. Let me start modeling. And so I started building my portfolio, started doing these photo shoots. I thought I'd get discovered if I go on Love Connection, because that was Chuck Willery's Love Connection. That was like a real big deal at the time. So I said, maybe I can get discovered if I'm on Love Connection. So I went on Love Connection, and I didn't get discovered, but very strange back then. They gave my number to some of the females that were calling saying, we saw Michael Pointer on Love Connection. How can we get in touch with him? So I got like 7 or 8 phone calls from my appearance on Love Connection, and that's another story. I did fashion shows at all over LA, the Hyatt, the Hilton, Cockatoo Inn, and I'm trying to get this career moving. I want to do double duty. I want to work overtime, just really crush it, and start my career. Even quit the job. I took a little hiatus and went to Milan, Italy. Now, what on earth am I doing in Milan, Italy? Right? Because back here in the States, people would say, man, they love brothers in Milan, man. You need to go to Europe. They love black brothers over there, man. So I end up going to Europe, right? And I got there in Milan at the wrong time of the year. Fashion, I didn't know this then, fashion has seasons. And I had no idea I was there completely at the wrong time. And so I'm struggling, and the agencies didn't want to see me and this whole thing. And then I packed my bags, got my job back, right? Al Billings, A1 Coast, company owner, gave me my job back. And then I started getting calls from Europe. The season is hot now. We want to see you. We have shows for you. And I'm like, oh my Lord. But by that time, I'd already decided to stay and finish saving my money because I wanted to make my big move. Finally, in 1990, got my own apartment. Like, man, I'm really, really jamming now. I got my own place. You know, I wanted to, like, let's say maybe date again, be serious about someone. So I don't want to be living for free in someone's room. You know, as kind as Tony was to me, I want my own place. And so I'm like, okay, I got my own place. I was proud of myself. I had a beautiful place in Gardena. I mean, it was, you couldn't wear a brand new carpet. You couldn't wear shoes on my floor, right? Even I wore socks barefoot, right? Everything was color coordinated. Beautiful place in Gardena I had. And lived there for a while, saved my money like crazy, and continued to save my money like crazy. And then finally, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make my move in 3 months. But I made a big mistake that would cost me. I was trying to be kind to someone who needed a place to stay. You know, Tony let me stay with him for free. And I said, well, you know, let me show kindness to someone else that really, really needs to, you know, they need somewhere to stay. They don't want to stay on the street. And I knew this person, and it would cost me. It was a very, very poor decision on my part, and it would turn out to be a major setback for me.